Those family gatherings with relatives you haven't seen for years. Go ahead, I hear you do stand-up comedy now. Go on, tell us a joke.
Not quite making sense. There's a sweet spot between making sense and not making sense.
Yes.
In which it makes sense for like half a second, and then you think, wait, what? So yeah, so it's that kind of sweet spot, I think, that kind of I try to aim for. The moon landing bit, I think, is an interesting case because, firstly, I don't know how my brain came up with that, but I feel like if it's anything that isn't ice cream, it wouldn't work, and I don't know why. You know, if you get the moon landing on cheese, I don't think it would work. I'm trying to think other things. I just think it works best with ice cream. And that's where that big sweet spot evidently is. I don't know.
It'd be an interesting case study to try with different things. But yeah, I think you're right. I think certainly the ice cream or something very similar, because I think there's a subconscious part of it where people are realising that you've bought the ice cream just for that, because it's clearly going to melt by the time that you can be able to get it to a freezer again.
Yeah, when I brought it to Blizzard, so it must be at least half an hour to get from home to Blizzard.
Yeah.
And, you know, all that, why the ice cream, I had like a little cold, actually my housemate had a little kind of cold hamper. But kind of ice in. But even so, I got to Gulliver's and I had to ask the barman for a glass just full of ice and nothing else. Got a bit of a strange look. So it's quite an annoying thing to do. Like, what if someone in another city wants me to perform? What do I do?
I've been here for like a few years now, and I'm still really bad at like recognizing different British accents, you know? Like, you guys are very good at this. Like, you'll hear another person from Britain, you're like, I know what bus stop they're from. I hear someone from Britain, I'm like, this guy's either Michael Caine, Shrek, or neither. But that superpower of recognizing accents breaks down when you're faced with a Canadian accent, because nobody wants to guess where I'm from, dance around it a lot. They'll be like, hey, what part of North America are you from? And I'm like, Mexico, gracias for asking. Very similar acentos. But it's really weird, and it's like, I think the reason that nobody wants to guess where I'm from, because they're afraid they're going to say American and then offend me as a Canadian. They're going to make a Canadian mad, which is a terrifying proposition. You'll know, you guys, when a Canadian is mad at you. You can tell, because when we're mad, to your face, we'll be polite. But when you're not around, that's when we hold back our compliments.
People are baffled by me, right? And that's because for as liberal as Londoners are, right, subconsciously, again, they live in this very London-based bubble. So they don't expect Northerners to be ethnic, right? They subconsciously associate all Northern accents with bigotry, right? Could be the Lancastrian accent, could be the Scouse accent, could be the Yorkshire accent, could be the Geordie accent. But subconsciously, they associate with bigotry. And that means when I turn up to any party in London, I'm just an oxymoron. Like, I confuse the fuck out of everyone, because I turn up, they take one look at me, and they just go, "Fucking hell, Dave, I don't get it! What are you looking at? It looks like an ethnic! But it sounds like a racist, I've got no idea!" It baffles people a bit like me. I'm very proud to come from the Northeast. I'm very proud to come from somewhere with strong sense of regional identity, and I'm very proud of the way I sound. I think the only thing that annoys me still to this day about the way I sound is when people not from the Northeast try and do my accent. That very much frustrates me. Because whenever anyone not from the Northeast tries to do the Northeast accent, it sounds identical to whenever anyone not from India tries to do the Indian accent. And that's because whenever anyone not from the Northeast tries to do the Northeast accent, whenever anyone not from India tries to do the Indian accent, every fucking time it comes out sounding Welsh. Without fail. I'm not from Wales, I resent the implication.
I've done a lot of weight recently and it's fine, but it's gotten to the point where the boyfriend said to me, as my girlfriend, I think you need to lose some weight so I can find you more attractive again. So I ate him. Something obviously what I was expecting, obviously gonna choose food over him, alright? I have never been reduced to tears by a tiramisu, okay? No once has a sausage roll made me watch Match of the Day, alright? Apart from that time I tried shrooms. But I'm alright with the situation. Just a vessel gets me from A to B just fine, alright? But there is one thing that does get on my tits. You know, the elbows, not the tits. Obviously, like, they just sort of get in the way. Like, I know sometimes people see a female comedian and sort of think, you know, oh, she's going to talk about a vagina and a period. No, just going to talk about the Brecon Beacons for a second. They just sort of get in the way. Like, I sort of wish they were like light bulbs, you know, that I could like unscrew them, you know, put them in the drawer, you know, go for a run, you know. I wouldn't. And like bras as well. Once you go for double D, bras aren't these cute little dainty things, you know. They get a bit more industrial. Like scaffolding. I tried one of those cute lacy ones on the other day, right? And best way to describe it, you know tangerines coming on netting?
So I think it started off a lot like with me writing sheep jokes and stuff as like a defensive thing.
Yeah.
Where like I felt like I needed to address my weight before someone shouted it out, "Oh, you're fat" or something. And I've never had that on stage.
No.
And like if I did, I know the audience would be on my side because who would hear a heckler shout you're fat? And
Yeah.
think, oh, he's a good person. They're a good person.
Yeah.
But the root of it. So I talk about my ex saying, you know, I needed to lose weight and stuff so I can find me attractive, and that's true.
Yeah.
As well as like sort of want to defend myself from any hecklers, I just wanted to sort of reclaim that. I just want like my body and stuff. Like
Yeah.
when I used to watch comedians, you know, on TV and stuff, they made me feel better. I sort of wanted to do that for other people, so I was thinking, right, if other people feel rubbish about their weight, I want them to feel better about it.
Mm.
I wanted to do what like Sarah Millican and people like that had done for me when I watched them and just felt better about certain things. Like, but yeah, I just wanted to turn these things in the head and just make them into silly things and sort of like own it a little bit more and just think. And you know what, saying it, like having to say it at least once a week and things like that on stage has improved how I see like myself as a being, I feel like.
What? It's some dark soy sauce. This entire act is just a distraction from the fact we're all eventually going to die. Well, that is some dark soy sauce. You know, recently got this This Old Faithful. I've only recently started really doing it, so I've not really got a decent streak yet. But let's see how it goes. Twist it. Flick it. Flick it. Pull it. Twist it. Pull it. Kill him. Don't question me, I said kill him. I'm sorry, but this is my best streak so far.
No!
Left too long a gap on the sound effect. But it's coming.
You just missed it.
Oh, play it again.
Go on, we're doing the whole bit. Go on.
But yeah, you don't have to do some shit gigs doing this show. I done one in London, and I'm not saying that the guys running it were laddie. However, there was a staffy called Dave running around. He was adorable. He was running around, and the backdrop that they'd made for themselves was just a double bed sheet that they'd painted the name of the night onto. You know, like a marriage proposal at a roundabout. Karen, will you marry us? Is that of interest? Would anyone say yes to that? Good, good. I don't know any of you, but I know that you're better than that. But, like, I mean, someone must be saying yeah, right? I don't know, like, because I've never been proposed to before with any level of sincerity. But, like, I don't know, I'm quite old-fashioned. You know, the least I would require is for the person asking me to be there. And I don't want to be driving. It's so high maintenance, aren't it?
You know, I've always had jobs at theatres or comedy clubs or what have you, just so I can see it and not have to pay.
Yeah.
I have to pay for it, which I shouldn't say as a performer. Please pay for it, but like, I didn't. I was a kid. I didn't have much money, and now I'm an adult and I don't have much money.
You're paying with your time. This
Exactly.
exposure.
Yeah.
So, were there any particular people you saw at that point that kind of made you want to pursue it yourself?
I suppose. Well, there wasn't like a professional stand-up that made me think I could do it.
Right.
There were a lot of open mic acts.
So you just saw a lot of people bad at it. I need to increase the standard here. So it's fine. I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, and I feel bad saying this now after having said that.
Yeah.
I don't mean this as a slight, but I used to go to the Comedy Balloon a lot.
Yeah.
Before that was sort of the club that I went to.
Yeah.
Because it's just a pub, isn't it?
Yeah.
So no one's.
So obviously it's a free one, so you can go and watch.
Yeah, so like you can afford it. And I was like, look at all of these professional comedians. And oh boy, I later realised that they were not. But I mean, you know what? We saw like some excellent acts that I've gone on to work with.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like now.
Yeah.
I had a lovely time, and you know we weren't old enough to be there, so that was great as well. But yeah, I think when I saw those people, and you know you see someone do badly, it's kind of encouraging, isn't it? Because you're like, actually.
One day I just got up and I thought, right, you know what, I'm going to move to London and I'm going to sort my fucking life out. And to my credit, I am halfway through that list. There's a lovely part of London called Kilburn. Oh, you know it. The estate didn't mention it as we moved into the property, but it turns out that my street, it's actually a gangland boundary. Which means that a lot of young men die outside my house. It's a bit like the Somme, but with better kebab shop. There's not quite as much access to healthcare in Kilburn as there was in the Somme. But the main reason that I moved down there is to study carpentry and welding. So for me, comedy really is just a thing I have to do to pay the bills. Whilst I pursue my real dream of moving heavy things around cold warehouses. But because I do that, everyone just assumes that I'm a lesbian. It's a love of minge that really is key to one's understanding of how to use a table saw. Let me tell you, Blizzard Comedy, I can put up shelves and I can suck cock. At the same time. Depending on how high you want your shelf.
I live in Newcastle anymore. I actually moved further north. I currently live in Edinburgh. By chance, do we have any Scottish people in the room tonight? Not a single Scot? Good, let's talk about them bastards. That depends, like, I live in Edinburgh. Edinburgh, they're very nice, they're very friendly, because in Edinburgh, they're like the English. You go to Edinburgh, people will come up to you, they'll be like, oh, you're from England? Oh, that's wonderful, whereabouts? Oh, Newcastle, that's amazing, I've got family in Berwick. But you head 45 minutes north, 45 minutes west to Glasgow, and it is a lot less friendly. It is a lot less, oh, you're from England, that's so nice, Mo. Oh, you're from England! I hope you fucking die! Actually, why I love Glasgow, ladies and gentlemen. Because Glasgow is now the only place I have been in the world where I've been racially abused, but the colour of my skin was not mentioned once. It's a new one for me. Being told to fuck off back to England by a Muslim woman in a full niqab, no less.
That's probably why I love stand-up so much, and what it probably gave us is the fact that stand-up more than anything has allowed me to be myself.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think I grew up in quite a rough area. I went to quite a posh school. I was brown in both of those scenarios. I had a funny accent when I was out in Newcastle. And on comedy, I can just be me. And that is incredibly liberating as well. Like, do you know what I mean? I can be a bit of a stoner, a bit of a philosopher, somebody who's interested in politics, wrestling, hip-hop. I can be Geordie, I can be Indian, I can be all these things. And it doesn't feel like it's a contradiction, or it doesn't feel like people are taken aback by that in the wrong way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is it surreal being able to essentially monetize just being you?
I've never thought of it that way. When you put it that way, that's quite, yeah, I suppose that's quite ego inflating, isn't it? Yeah, it's, I mean, I can't monetize it that much, otherwise I'd be a lot bigger, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, of course.
That is quite surreal, actually, now I think about it. Yeah, sort of, I'm the brand, you know. I suppose it's actually quite dangerous, really, because sometimes, you know, the brand, I suppose the person on stage, you hear some of these stories, and sometimes the person on stage can filter into your real life, and particularly when you're running off all that energy that you get on stage, sometimes, you know, after gigs, you do the dumbest shit. And perhaps that wouldn't be so much if you weren't crafting as your day-to-day job a more extreme version of yourself.
All I get's some tomato ketchup. This entire act is just a distraction from the fact we're all eventually going to die. Oh, that is some tomato ketchup. Okay, I'm quite a vanilla person, really. Like, for example, I wouldn't, you know, put anything up my arse that hadn't been there already. pride, it comes before the fall. It also comes before prejudice. This last weekend I entered a competition. I came third. Got the bronze, pretty good. It's the highest placement that's represented by an alloy. So I walked into a curry house the other day and bought my favourite kind of doll. Roll doll. Sorry, did I say curry house? I meant bookshop. I'm really proud of that joke. Oh, it's some Chinese five spice. This entire act is just a distraction from the fact that we're all eventually going to die. Well, that is some Chinese five spice. There's so much more in this bag.
I'm also gay. I'm also polyamorous. If that confuses you, don't worry, I got you covered. You got poly, which means many, and you've got amory, which means dicks in my mouth. I legit, guys, I keep having this conversation with my mom where I'm like, Mom, I'm polyamorous. And she's like, what's that? And I'm like, well, it's when you have multiple relationships with multiple people at the same time. She's like, oh, that's polyamory, that's polyamory, that's polyamory. See, in my day, we called that being a hoe. And I'm like, it's both today. It's really weird. I live with people, I have flatmates. One of my flatmates ate half a banana and then put it in the fridge for later, and I'm convinced he's murdering people. He ate half a banana! He went banana! Yeah. That's insane. Do you guys know how many, like, here's the thing, he had 2 bites left. You know how many bites it takes to eat a whole banana? 1! Yeah, the back of my throat is more open than the Irish border. That's what's offending people. Nobody make jokes about the current political climate. But here's what I don't understand about this happening. Why didn't he just throw away the banana? He's like these fucking people that make banana bread, and they come up to me and they're like, hey, Brandon, you know, if you have old bananas, you can save them and make banana bread. And I'm like, or I could bin them and move on with my life. Why are you making bread out of garbage? You don't have to turn trash into energy. You're not powering a DeLorean.
So I felt like I was constantly trying to crack into club comedy and all, constantly getting nowhere with it. So that was the thing that I was kind of chasing. But my favorite things were always just like queer rooms. I loved lighting up a queer room, especially like once I got past the point of like when I was new and I thought I was like really like out there queer, and then I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, like once I stopped talking to queer rooms, like I was talking to straight audiences, it really went a long way.
Yeah.
I think we're like, so you guys know how gay people like to have anal sex? But like, yeah, we do. We got that very early on. Like, I always like anytime it was like a pride show or something like that, I loved that shit so much. Yeah, and then because it was just like, it was this thing where like I could just do well in those rooms. I felt like every time I tried to perform for like clubs or straight dancers or whatever, like it was like, I don't know. I don't want to point the finger at homophobia because I think it gets done a lot, but like I think it's just, it's not the thing where they hate people. I think it's the thing where they're
kind of preconceptions and
things.
yeah.
I think it's honestly just discomfort more than anything else, because a lot of my material was racy and vulgar, and
which our queer audiences love. They absolutely adore it.
Yeah, we get into that.
Yeah,
and but that was the thing. Like I loved, like, those are my favorite rooms ever. Because I just knew what was going to happen. I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be a laugh. I knew people were going to be on board. I knew I wasn't going to have to fucking, like, fight to convince them that Like I felt like I had to do a lot less cajoling in a queer room than I did in just straight rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like the worst gig that I've ever done in a queer room has been nice. It's just been
Yeah.
And that was like sort of for you actually. The first time I did a queer gig, because like a lot of my material was kind of based on people being like a bit less familiar with queer stuff, so I could kind of subvert their expectations and kind of take that along as people. But you try and do that in a queer room, and you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? So
you can honestly,
do have to adapt
Johnny,
material.
you can hear their eyes rolling.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Don't treat us like one of your straight audiences.
I also, but it's not just all sex stuff. I got a big heart, you guys. I had a crush on someone recently, which was tricky. I can always tell that I have a crush on someone when I start over-analyzing every fucking thing they send me on my phone. Like, do you do that? Yeah. Like, I'll gather friends around and be like, hey, what do you think he means by happy birthday? What does this say? Okay, happy. That's good, right? That's good. That sounds good. Birthday. He wants my babies. And the reason that I think that secret messages are coming in here is because everything I'm sending out is just I just send out clues and hints like I'm a serial killer taunting the police. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we've mapped out the locations of all the bodies, and it just spells out fuck me. You know, I think we're gonna catch this guy. He seems needy. But it was this thing, so what happened to me in this situation was one of those things where, like, I was hooking up with him, he was hooking up with me, and we were all hooking up with other people, and then he started dating someone, traitor. It was fun, and when that happens, like, I don't know about you guys, but I find, like, you just go into denial. Like, someone starts dating someone else, and you're like, that'll never last, you know? And then a year goes by, and you're like, time will tell! Next thing you know, they're planning a wedding, you're planning a murder.
I've been on the rag this past week. Let's call it the festive period. Oh mate, I've been holding on to that for like months. I tried to do one in Stockport and I was like, they're not going to go for it, they won't get it. So I'm like, none of these people have had a period in a long time. Well, they were old, they weren't all pregnant. Who's drinking? Oh no, no, I have. I used a moon cup for the first time. Has anyone used a moon cup before? No? Yeah, it's good. They're alright, aren't they? It's very good for the environment, good for the pocket as well. You have to buy the one of them. So they're great. If you don't know what they are, it's a little silicone cup. You squeeze it, you pop it up inside yourself, and it forms a vacuum to catch your lady river in it. What I didn't realise was that when you come to take it out, and you do have to take it out, it's very important that bit. You do have to take it. What I didn't realise was that you have to squeeze it to break the vacuum. I was just pulling on this motherfucker. Mate, you'll never know pain like it. So I honestly thought I was going to end up pulling my intestines out like handkerchiefs from a wizard's face. Should we have a song? Yeah. Okay, I'll go first. If this bit goes shit, by the way, let's pretend I thought it was like a music open night. I'll do Wonderwall, it'll be fine, alright? Also, if you can see from there, maybe don't join in, there's no songs to play. Do you think the person who invented scarves, right, was like attacked by a snake? And they were like, inconvenient, but quite warm. You know, they say if you I need a new one. What am I, ukulele? Like, there could be a family of 5 under there, wouldn't know. I've seen my belly button before, but like, I don't know if I'd recognise it in a lineup, you know?
No, like, because this is it, like, genuinely, like, growing up, I thought I knew right from wrong. I thought I knew what was good, I thought I knew what was bad. I thought, by and large, the bad guys were Nazis and terrorists. Everyone else, by the by, is okay. But the older I've got, the more I've realised all of my heroes are now either dead, in jail, or touched up your nan. Like, the only reason I do stand-up is because of my hero, a young Asian comedian by the name of Aziz Ansari. Now, if you don't know who Aziz Ansari is, he was a very successful young male Asian comedian. He had a couple of sitcoms on Netflix, he had several specials. But then last year, Aziz Ansari faced accusations of sexual misconduct, and now, very rightfully, his hero credentials are very much up for question. If you still don't know who Aziz Ansari is, basically, Aziz Ansari was to young male Asian comedians what Louis C.K. is to young male white. That does not work. Right, let me rejig that. If you don't know who Louis C.K. is, Louis C.K. was to young male white comedians what Bill Cosby is to young male white. Fuck, none of this works. But I don't know, it's complicated to do this job, right? To walk into a room full of 13 people, and navigate what they want and realise, oh, that hasn't worked, this does work, and go down a particular line and direct it the way you want to direct it, just off the reaction of your face and the reaction of your laughter. That requires a certain empathy for how people feel. If anything, that requires an increased empathy for how people feel. And when you have that increased empathy, right? When you have that increased empathy, it fucking breaks my heart that you would then use it to coerce people into doing things that they don't necessarily want to do. And a lot of people say, Raul, whatever you do, do not talk about this on stage. I mean, one, you cannot make it funny. And from the looks on some of your faces, they were right. But they also said, Raul, you can't talk about this, you're a man. This isn't a man's story to tell, and I agree, it isn't a man's story to tell. But I also think this is, at present, a debate. And I think it's the debate that will define our times. I think men and women of all castes, creeds, religions, whatever, should be having the most open and honest discussion they possibly can about this. But I don't know. Give me a cheer if you identify as a woman. You identify as a woman, lady, what's your name? Roz. Roz, pleasure, Roz. Very simple question, Roz. Do you think I can talk about this as a man or not? If you say yes, I continue to talk about it. If you say no, I'll stop talking about it. Don't let the audience pressure you into making a decision. Don't let me. This is your own autonomous decision, Roz.
Yes.
Yes. See, consent is not that fucking difficult. Appreciate it, but don't applaud me for not being a rapist. That is
You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. That's my favourite song about ski lifts. And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? And Tiffany said, stop eating my breakfast. I watched that Spider-Man film the other day, right? And spoiler, right? Spider-Man doesn't eat a single fly. In case, I've eaten more flies than Spider-Man. On the way up here, I went toilet. In the toilet on the train, baby changing table. Disgusting. 2019, a baby changing table. Stick with the baby you've got. Oh, the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men, but I do it in the slag, is it? My mum really likes that one. Right, I'm gonna scuttle off now. I'll leave you on one thing, right? So I had a weird experience recently where someone asked me if I had a ghostwriter, and I mean, I might ask for my money back if so. But listen to this and tell me if it sounds like I've had a ghostwriter. That's a picture I drew of a man with a cabbage for a head. But yeah, tell me if this sounds like I've had a ghostwriter. Ooh!
Oh, look! It's an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations by Adam Smith, grandfather of modern economics. This entire act is... Well, that is an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations by Adam Smith, grandfather of modern economics.